The son of Raj San's first love has leukemia. He wants to use my son's bone marrow to donate to her child. I threatened to commit suicide and refused. As a result, the son of the first love died. My son called me vicious and dismembered me together with Raj San. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the day when Raj San wanted our son to donate bone marrow. My son tugged at the corner of my clothes and asked me, "Mom, I want to donate bone marrow. Do you agree?" I forced a smile on my lips. Ryan is really a kind-hearted and good boy. Mom will always support you. As soon as I opened my eyes, I found that I had been reborn. I was reborn on the day when Raj San secretly took Ryan to do the matching. And Shirley came to my house with the result of a successful match and begged me to sign. She knelt in the courtyard of the community with her emaciated son in her arms. And there were neighbors around watching the scene. "I'm begging you. Save my son. I've already lost my husband. I can't lose my son again. As long as you can save my son, I'm willing to die. I'm begging you." Her plea soon aroused sympathy. Some people who talk without feeling the pain also started to egg me on. "I think your child is so healthy. Just help them. She has already lost her husband. It would be so pitiful if she lost her child again. If my child could match, I would definitely agree." It seems that Mia doesn't want to agree. This person is so vicious. Isn't she? I was so engrossed in listening that it was not until Ryan waved his hand in front of me. Then I came back to my senses and looked at him. At this time, Ryan was only 14 years old. He hadn't fully grown up yet. His skin was fair and rosy. And he was chubby and very cute. But I knew clearly that it was all fake. This is the face of a devil. At this time in my last life, facing Shirley's persistent pestering, I directly threatened to commit suicide. I told her, "If you want the bone marrow, you can only get it when I'm dead." I even moved house directly to avoid her. I gave everything. I thought Ryan would understand my good intentions. But I never expected to end up in pieces. I still remember clearly what happened before I died. In the abandoned repair shop, Raj San tied me up, and Ryan squatted beside me with a knife. I begged hoarsely, "Ryan, don't listen to your father. I'm your mother. Mom did all this for your own good. You've been in poor health since you were a child. And the bone marrow transplantation is very risky. With your constitution, there's a high probability that you'll die on the operating table. What does that have to do with you? My life is my own. And I can do whatever I want." Ryan sneered, "Also, I'm fed up with you. You stay at home doing nothing all day. And you look disheveled when you go out. You've made me be laughed at and embarrassed my father. You don't deserve to be my mother. My mother should be an elite woman like Shirley's mother. Shirley's mother said that as long as you die, she will agree to marry my father and become my new mother. So go and die." The memory stopped abruptly. Ryan tugged at the corner of my clothes. "Mom, I want to donate bone marrow. Do you agree?" Along with that, he also whispered in my ear, in a voice that only the two of us could hear, "If you don't agree, the consequences are beyond what you can bear." I instantly understood. It seems that Ryan has also been reborn. "Well, this is what you want. So here you go." Under his gaze, where he could rush up and tear me to pieces at any moment if I refused, I twitched the corners of my mouth, raised a smile, and gently stroked the back of Ryan's head with my hand. "Mom of course agrees. Ryan is really a kind-hearted child. Mom will always support you. After all, I also want to see. In this life, you can choose your own path." The condition of Shirley's son is not very good, so the surgery was urgently arranged at noon on the third day. Before entering the operating room, the doctor still repeatedly emphasized that Ryan was in poor health and the surgery risk was high, and suggested that the parents should think carefully. In the last life, Ryan didn't go through this step, so he thought that donating bone marrow was no big deal. This time he experienced it himself. After listening to the doctor's explanation, there was a little hesitation on his face. Raj San noticed his hesitation. It seemed that he was afraid that he would back out at the last minute. He quickly comforted him, "Ryan, it's okay. It's just a bone marrow transplantation. It's not a major surgery. It's not as scary as the doctor said. Just get an anesthetic and take a nap, and it will be okay." If you don't believe me, asked your mother? Calculating the time when I died. Ryan was also 21 years old. He had already truly grown up and had the ability to think independently and solve problems. Now that I'm reborn, it has nothing to do with me how he chooses. I smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Mom is just a housewife. I really don't know these medical things and can't give any substantial advice. As long as Ryan thinks it's okay. There was a flash of surprise on Ryan's face. After a moment, he nodded heavily. It's okay. It was just bad luck last time. This time it won't be like last time. He demanded of Raj-san, don't let Dr. XX perform the surgery. Change to another doctor. The surgery lasted for 6 hours. And nurses in the operating room came out several times during the process. They took several bags of blood plasma. They were in a hurry, racing against death. When the surgery was completely over, everyone in the operating room had a look of survival after a disaster. Doctor, how was the surgery? Is Sheng Sheng okay? Raj-san hurried forward and asked. Sheng Sheng is Shirley's son. The surgery was very successful. And the patient Sheng Sheng is out of danger now. But, before the doctor could finish speaking, Raj-san and Shirley hugged each other and wept with joy. That's great. Sheng Sheng is finally okay. The heavens have eyes. Only I heard the doctor's next sentence. Ryan's condition is not very good. The patient has lost too much blood and is highly likely to pass out. Sheng Sheng was successfully transferred from the ICU to a general ward. Ryan also successfully entered the ICU. Raj-san couldn't sit still in the ICU. His eyes kept looking outside. 5 minutes later, he suddenly stood up and said to me, honey, Sheng Sheng has just had the surgery and is still very weak. Shirley is the only one taking care of Sheng Sheng over there. And she may not be able to handle it alone. I'll go and take a look. Please take care of Ryan. In the past, I would definitely have questioned him. Do you know that your son has also just had the surgery? Do you know that your son's life is uncertain? Do you know that Ryan is your biological son? But it's unnecessary now. Because these are all their choices. However, there is one thing. It is still very necessary. Why should I split the cost for their consumption? I quickly stepped forward and blocked Raj-san, who was about to rush out the door. Raj-san frowned unhappily and looked at me. Mia, can you stop being unreasonable? Shirley's husband has passed away. She's not like you, staying at home all day and enjoying the benefits without doing anything. She still has a job and doesn't have as much time as you. I smiled. That's not what I mean. I just want to remind you that if you want me to take care of Ryan, I'm afraid you have to pay me. I took out the divorce agreement that Raj-san gave me before. On the man's side. Half a year ago, when Shirley came back, he had already signed it. The color of the ink had faded. And on the woman's side, the color of the ink was bright. And you could still see the traces that hadn't dried yet. According to the content of the divorce agreement, the custody of Ryan belongs to you. And I will sever the mother-son relationship with him. So now we can be considered strangers. According to the current market wage standard, an ordinary nurse costs 300 yuan per hour. Considering the current special situation, it costs 500 yuan per hour to take care of someone. Do you want to pay by WeChat or Alipay? Previously, having fulfilled my obsession. Because of Ryan. When Raj-san proposed a divorce to me, I always refused. Raj-san never expected that I would mention the divorce at this time. When he looked at me in a dilemma, my phone rang inappropriately. Sister Mia, the president said that the headquarters welcomes you back to work at any time. I deliberately put the phone on speakerphone. Raj-san heard the conversation clearly, and his face turned red and then white. I don't know what he was thinking. After hanging up the phone, I forced a look of guilt. I'm really sorry. I can't do it for 500 yuan now. After all, you know that I work at Yingda, and I earn 1,000 yuan per hour. After leaving the hospital, I directly moved into my best friend's house. I didn't tell Oli in advance. When she opened the door and saw it was me, she was taken aback at first. Then she hugged me and cried uncontrollably, Mia, is this the love that nourishes people you mentioned before? You're only 36 years old. Why do you look older than my mother? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I let her hug me, and cry for a long time before we entered the house. I didn't want to tell her about the matter at first, but she kept asking me questions. In desperation, I had to tell her everything. After hearing it, Zoe didn't say a word. She picked up a kitchen knife from the kitchen and was about to go out. I quickly stopped her. "What are you doing?" Zoe had a fierce look on her face and gritted her teeth. "Dismember them." I secretly sighed in my heart. She really has a childish temper. "Zoe, listen to me. This is a society ruled by law. Killing people is illegal. Moreover, those were things that happened in the last life and have nothing to do with this life." Zoe was indignant on my behalf. "Are you stupid? They treated you like that, and you just let it go?" I smiled and took the kitchen knife from her hand. "Zoe, have you heard of karma? In my last life, in order to take better care of Ryan, I returned to the family and became a housewife. I was busy with housework, daily necessities, and lived like a robot that could only work. I endured Raj San's cold looks and Ryan's disgust. It also became the fuse for Ryan to kill me. This time, I want to live for myself." After settling down, Zoe helped me dress up. Looking at myself in the mirror, who was full of vitality, I felt as if I had been reborn. Zoe stood aside and looked at me with satisfaction. "We women are born with the ability to love others, but we don't have the consciousness to love ourselves. Remember, love yourself before loving others next time." I went back to work at Yingda. After being a housewife for more than 10 years, I was completely unfamiliar with the current business processes when I entered the company again. Fortunately, hadn't fulfilled my desire. The previous senior executives of the company were very kind to me. It wasn't too difficult to adapt. After half a year of adaptation, I was able to follow up on the business skillfully. During these half a year, I devoted myself to work and didn't care about Ryan's affairs anymore. The next time I heard news about Ryan was from a call from his grandmother. On the other end of the phone, the old woman was crying bitterly. "Mia, you must persuade Raj San. Ryan is in poor health. He just had a bone marrow transplantation half a year ago. If he has a kidney transplantation, he will die." It turned out that during the half year when I was working hard, Shirley and Raj San got married. Ryan also successfully achieved his wish of having an elite mother. The family was happy and harmonious. But the good times didn't last long. Shirley's son got uremia again. A kidney source was urgently needed. And what a coincidence. Ryan just happened to have such a life-saving kidney. After donating bone marrow, it was already a great fortune that Ryan was able to save his life. He simply couldn't withstand any more toss and turn. But Ryan and Raj San seemed to be possessed. They firmly believed that the surgery would be easy. As long as they were given anesthesia, they could just sleep through it. And everything would be fine when they woke up. After failing to persuade them, the old lady who had been full of benevolence and morality and supported the bone marrow transplantation panicked and had no choice but to call me. I was sorting out documents while answering the old lady. "Auntie, Anne? I'm really sorry. I've already divorced Raj San. As an outsider, it's really not appropriate for me to interfere in your family affairs. Why don't you think of another way? If it really doesn't work, you can call the police." I got home from work. As soon as I put down my bat, Zoe rushed in front of me holding her phone. "Mia, I'm going to tell you something interesting. Today, I had some business and went to Raj San's residential community. Guess what happened? I seemed to have a premonition of what Zoe was going to say in my heart. Raj San and Ryan, the father and son, beat the old lady up in the yard. It said that the old lady didn't agree with Ryan and donating his kidney to his stepmother's son. After failing to persuade them, she directly called the police and said it was organ trafficking. After the father and son explained. After the police left, Shirley felt wronged and cried all kinds of ways. The father and son, in order to comfort her, directly forced the old lady to kneel in the yard and beat and kicked her. If it weren't for the neighbors saying there might have been a death, my heart turned cold. I couldn't help but wonder how Raj San could have the heart to do such a thing. That was his mother, after all. But when I thought of the dismemberment incident in my previous life, I instantly felt relieved. Wasn't I also Ryan's mother? Zoe said indignantly. Aren't they afraid of divine punishment for doing this? I received the old lady's call again at 5 o'clock in the morning. But it wasn't the old lady on the other end of the phone. It was the voice of a neighbor. Mia. Your old lady has passed away. I didn't dare to call Raj-san. So I had to call you. The old lady committed suicide by drinking pesticide. Her death was not a pretty sight. Except for the people from the funeral parlor. The other neighbors were all standing outside. Raj-san and Ryan were standing outside with Shirley and her son. All three of them looked unhappy. It wasn't the grief of losing a loved one, but impatience. Raj-san. This place is really evil. Sheng isn't in good health. I'm afraid of getting contaminated by something unclean. Let's go back first. Ryan quickly chimed in. Yeah. Dad. Anyway, there are people from the funeral parlor here. We can just give them more money. Raj-san thought for a while, and then doted on Shirley by rubbing her head. Okay. Let's go back first. Their voices were low. Everyone around could hear them clearly. Some elders were really angry and blocked Raj-san's way. Raj-san. Are you just leaving like this? This is your own mother who brought you up with great difficulty. Even if you didn't show filial piety when she was alive. Now that she's dead. You still don't care? Are you even human? Raj-san felt guilty and his face turned red and then pale. Seeing this, Shirley stood in front of Raj-san. Who are you? Old man? This is our family affair. Why are you poking your nose in it? It's said that this old woman was not decent when she was alive. Could it be that you're her old lover? If you care about her so much, why don't you die with her? The old man who had been preaching about respecting the elderly and loving the young all his life couldn't stand such humiliation. The old man raised his crutch and smashed it towards Shirley. You wretch. When Raj-san and Ryan saw Shirley being hit, they couldn't sit still. Raj-san stood in front of Shirley. Ryan went to push the old man. Get lost, old man. Don't touch my mom. The old woman didn't do anything. Just stayed in our house eating and drinking for free all day long. And she was always meddling in our affairs. She deserved to die a long time ago. Don't moralize us here. Hearing this, the old man spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. And Raj-san led the three of them away triumphantly. The crowd scattered, leaving only a few of the old lady's playmates. They carefully sorted out the old lady's belongings. Fiona. Is this the son you risked your life to give birth to? You've raised a child for decades. But in the end, he became a good-for-nothing who just eats and drinks for free. Tell me, why didn't you listen to the advice back then? What on earth was the point of giving birth to such a child? Unlike the regret here. The group of Raj-san who left were chatting and laughing. Honey. Don't be angry. I'll cook for you when we get home. Mom. Now there's finally no one to stop me from donating my kidney to my little brother. Yeah. Now the last person who could save you is gone. After Raj-san left, he never showed up again. I paid for the old lady's grave. So he said, Mia. You're such a fool. Bringing trouble on yourself. Look at what you've done. Who will remember your kindness? I shook my head with a smile. I don't want anything. I'm just a mother myself, and I understand her. In the face of the betrayal of loved ones, we clearly know that death won't help, yet we still choose to use death without hesitation in an attempt to wake up those who have lost their way. At this moment, whether it's successful or not, she is worthy of respect, but at the same time, it's also not worth it. After the funeral, I threw myself into my busy work again. A few weeks later, I heard news about Ryan again. This time it was on the trending list. 17-year-old high school student and fearlessly donates a kidney in the photo. The family of 4 was sitting on the hospital bed. Ryan was sitting in the middle, held in Shirley's arms. His face was pale, and he was already emaciated. But there was a happy smile on his face. The caption of the evoke picture read, My brother is the bravest child. Mom will always love you. The comments section of the evoke was full of praises. The little boy is so brave. Thumbs up for the little boy. I don't quite understand filial piety in books, but I clearly know that he is showing filial piety. An eagle-like woman shed 2 lines of tears. A son should be like Ryan. Suddenly, An unharmonious comment popped up in the comments section. Has anyone ever thought that the boy is only 17 years old? I heard that he donated bone marrow just half a year ago. And now he's donating a kidney. How can his body withstand it? Don't you think this family is too vicious? In order to treat the little brother's illness, they don't even care about the elder brother's health. Not long after this comment appeared, a netizen with the nickname Ryan immediately replied, "Hello. This netizen. Please don't use such vicious words to speculate about my mother. Whether it's donating bone marrow or a kidney, it's all my own choice. My mother is the kindest person in the world. I love my mother very much. And my mother loves me too. Thank you." What a picture of a kind mother and a filial son. Time flew by. And before I knew it, 2 years had passed. The climate in early spring was changeable. Zoe couldn't hold up and got sick and was hospitalized. I went to the hospital to visit her. When I went out to get the takeout, I met Ryan and Raj-san again. They were standing with the doctor, looking anxious. In the past 2 years, Raj-san didn't change much. But Ryan had changed a great deal. Ryan, who used to only reach my shoulder height, was now much taller than me. However, he was too thin, and his face sunken in because there was no flesh, looking like a living mummy. The takeout hadn't arrived yet. Standing at the door, I could just hear the discussion among the three of them. "Doctor, is there any other way? The child's body is very healthy. He must be able to undergo another surgery. It's not that serious." After Raj-san finished speaking, Ryan quickly echoed, "Doctor, I'm really healthy." He raised his skinny arm for the doctor to see. "Look. I've been exercising recently. And there are muscles on my arm. Why don't you check me again? I'm sure I can withstand this surgery." The doctor had a serious expression on his face. "As a doctor, I must be responsible for every life. I can tell you clearly that with your current physical condition, if you don't recuperate in time, not to mention having the surgery, it will be difficult for you to even stay alive. Our hospital won't perform this surgery, and neither will other hospitals. If you have the time to pester me here, you might as well hurry up and find another bone marrow source." Listening to their conversation, I could probably guess what was going on. Sheng Sheng's leukemia had relapsed. Another bone marrow transplantation was needed. And because of Ryan's physical condition, the hospital refused to perform the surgery. After the doctor left, the father and son crouched down feebly. Suddenly, they looked up and saw me at the same time. But they didn't seem to recognize me. After confirming for a while, Raj-san walked towards me and said, "Why are you here? Are you sick?" I maintained a distant and elegant smile. "My friend is sick, so I came to visit." I pretended to have just seen Ryan and smiled. "I haven't seen you for 2 years. And Ryan has grown so tall. He's almost as tall as Auntie." Ryan ignored my enthusiasm and just looked at me coldly with his arms crossed, perhaps in his eyes. Even if I'm now dressed elegantly and look glamorous, in his eyes, I'm still that housewife who used to be unkempt all day long. However, I don't care. I still maintained a decent smile. "What about you? Why are you here? Do you need another surgery?" "Sheng Sheng isn't in good health." I nodded and peppered him. "Don't worry too much. Didn't you say that the surgery is just about getting an anesthetic, sleeping through it, and everything will be fine when you wake up? Don't worry. Everything will be okay." Ryan didn't like me and didn't want to hear me talk even more. After just a few words, Ryan got angry and dragged Raj-san away. When he turned around, he didn't forget to say something to disgust me. "Dad, why are you talking so much to her? People like her, who are vicious at heart and only care about themselves, won't be able to empathize. Even though she's now dressed in gorgeous clothes, she can't hide her dirty heart." In the end, after searching all the hospitals in Zhongcheng, the result was the same. Ryan's physical condition was too poor. He simply couldn't have the surgery. So what could be done? Late at night, Zoe knocked on the door of my bedroom. I looked at her sleepily. She was wearing a nightgown, and her thin body was shivering in the moonlight. My heart skipped a beat, and I was wide awake. I quickly held her hand and asked her softly, "What's wrong with you?" Zoe held up her phone in front of me. Her voice trembled when she spoke. Mia? It's a video call from Ryan. The city lights were still bright at night. A motorcycle sped down the street. The roar of the throttle made the world tremble. After countless setbacks and countless rejections. At Shirley's suggestion, Raj-san found a clinic that didn't have full qualifications to perform the operation. Just as other doctors had said. Ryan's body was weak. Ryan couldn't hold on as soon as the operation started. His blood pressure kept dropping. The clinic didn't have the professional equipment of a hospital, and there wasn't enough prepared blood plasma. Afraid of causing a death, the doctor stopped the operation halfway. The anesthesia wasn't sufficient. Ryan also woke up halfway through. He heard the conversation between Shirley and Raj-san. Raj-san, promise me you won't give up on Sheng. Okay? Shirley, listen to me. Ryan's body can't take it. If we continue, he will die. Raj-san, I've already endured the pain of losing my husband once. How can you bear to let me endure the pain of losing my child again? If Ryan dies, he dies. You'll still have Sheng in the future. And we'll have many more children. But if Sheng dies, I will die too. Raj-san, please. Save Sheng. Okay? After a long silence, Ryan heard Raj-san say, okay, I promise you. His heart was as cold as ashes. And the world collapsed. Were these really the father and mother he loved the most? No, he had to live. He didn't want to die. What should he do? That's right. Mom. In the narrow room, Raj-san fled with Sunny and Shirley. The doctor of the clinic was held hostage by the police and knelt on the ground. On the moldy bed, Ryan was connected to a ventilator and spoke weakly and intermittently. The doctor and the police stood by his side. In this situation, they should definitely send him to the hospital first. But Ryan stubbornly shook his head and insisted on using his last bit of strength to make a statement. The police frowned tightly and wrote down what he had just said on the record book, crackling lie. Do you have anything else to confess? Ryan struggled to lift his eyelids and looked in my direction. His Adam's apple seemed to move as if he wanted to say something. But for a long time, he didn't make a sound. He gently closed his eyes. A tear rolled down from the corner of his eye. The electrocardiogram machine beside him kept beeping. The doctor and the nurse quickly lifted him up and ran towards the ambulance outside the door. After experiencing everything that had just happened, I felt an inexplicable tiredness. Zoe noticed my mood and said seriously, Mia, promise me that no matter what happens to Ryan, we won't care about him. Okay? I knew that Zoe was afraid that I would be soft-hearted and repeat the same mistakes, ending up with the same fate as in the previous life. But in this new life, I wouldn't. Don't worry. I won't. Zoe looked at me suspiciously and said, really? I smiled softly. Of course. My Zoe is a precious flower in the world. My salary is only enough to support you. Do you want me to lower your living standards? Zoe pouted. No. The first 2 times. Ryan was really lucky. Having gone through a bone marrow operation and a kidney operation, he, who was already weak, actually remained unharmed. But this time, it seemed that his luck had run out. The lights in the emergency room went out, and the doctor came out wearing a mask. Family members. The patient has lost too much blood, coupled with his own physical condition. Although the operation was successful and his life was saved, he is very likely to become a vegetable. Moreover, even if there is a chance for him to wake up in the future, he will have to spend his whole life in a wheelchair. I see. The doctor suddenly said, you parents are so irresponsible. The child's body is so poor. It's bad enough to let him have 2 operations within a year. And you actually took him to a private clinic for an operation when the hospital refused to do it. You may not be aware that, in his current situation, it's almost the same as being dead. I silently lowered my head, neither confirming nor denying. It wasn't that I couldn't refute. I just felt that even if I told others, they wouldn't understand. Who could have imagined that the price of being responsible, in his words, was being dismembered? Although I had signed the divorce agreement, the terms of the divorce agreement clearly stated that the mother-son relationship was severed. But now Raj-san was on the run with Shirley and her son to avoid being tracked down. And I had a blood relationship with Ryan. Whether it was out of legal considerations or moral ones, I took relatively good care of him. Fortunately, heading fulfilledly, I now have a career and a stable monthly income. Now that he can't wake up, I can afford all his medical expenses and the fees for the nurse. If he wakes up, this will be the last time I see him in this life. Not long after, on the trending searches, I saw Shirley and Raj-san again. This time, it wasn't about showing off their happy family, a harmonious and perfect one, but about the two of them being handcuffed and sent to prison. The internet has no memory. Yesterday's bad things will be diluted by today's bad things. Similarly, yesterday's good things will also be buried by today's bad things. At first, people praised how happy and perfect Shirley's family was. Today, when their beliefs collapsed, they would scold them very harshly. I said it at the time. What kind of decent person would ignore their child's life like this? Those who said there was a deep mother-son bond before. Just go home. Alas, it's said that the child's biological mother is also heartless. She doesn't care when her own child is being treated like this. What's the point of giving birth to him? There were all kinds of opinions on the internet, and many of the accusations were directed at me. But I ignored them. What could I say? Say that I had cared, and in the end, I was killed? But like this, it seemed that no one would believe me. They would just think that I was trying to shirk responsibility, and came up with such a ridiculous excuse. Most of people's pain comes from their own choices. Not explaining is also a choice. Everything is over. I'm free. I finally don't have to hold grudges anymore, and I don't have to force myself to pay attention to them. Just as I exited Weibo, the police called. Hello, Mia. We are from Zhongcheng prison. There is a Raj-san who wants to see you. Speak, Isokar. What's the matter? Sitting opposite Raj-san through a glass window, I said straightforwardly. Raj-san had become so thin that he was almost unrecognizable. Just like Ryan. He looked at me with confusion in his eyes. Mia, I feel like I've had a dream. In the dream, I killed you. And then I sent Ryan to the operating table. But Ryan didn't make it through. And he died. Later, I was also sent to prison and sentenced to death. I was very scared. So I struggled desperately, thinking that everything would be okay when I woke up. But when I opened my eyes, I was really in prison. Mia, tell me, is this true? My heart skipped a beat. I instantly understood what he wanted to say. It seemed that he should have been reborn in prison after killing his wife. Don't call me Mia. I find it disgusting. After hearing his words, I just wanted to laugh. Raj-san, has anyone ever told you that your acting skills are really clumsy? Whether it's a dream or not, don't you know it yourself? The boiling blood splashed on your face, and the inhuman screams echoed in your ears. Do you think it could be fake? You know, of course you know. But why are you still asking me? Because you care about your face and want a way out. At first, you thought I was just a housewife and not as good as Shirley. So you decided to save Shirley's son. Marry her. And even incited Ryan to kill his mother. Using all kinds of actions to maintain your so-called facade. Now, Shirley is finished. You're in prison. And I've been reborn and become that facade again. So you're thinking, when you get out, you'll have nothing. If you beg for my forgiveness now, you'll have a backer in the future. Raj-san, I can tell you clearly, stop dreaming. I won't forgive you. Also, Hanning fulfilled Madsai. You made your mother so angry that she died, and because of your unremitting efforts, Ryan will have to lie in bed for the rest of his life. Your later life is destined to be lonely. Hearing this, the light in Raj-san's eyes instantly dimmed. He lowered his head and couldn't say a word. When I left, I just happened to meet Shirley's mother. I had met her a few times before. We were quite similar in temperament. At first glance, we both looked like successful elite women. Mia? I didn't expect to see you here. Are you here to see Raj-san? I didn't confirm or deny it. Shirley's mother said again, how is Ryan? He's still in the hospital. Oh, it's really. Shirley's mother paused and said, a sad thing. I couldn't help but sneer, if you're here to ask for Ryan's kidney again. I'm afraid you won't get your wish. He's now under strict protection. And ordinary people can't get close to him. Shirley's mother smiled ironically. Do I look that crazy? Shirley's mother sighed and said, just like you. I'm here to end things today. Let me tell you a story. There was a mother whose nephew had leukemia. And her daughter insisted on using the bone marrow of a child in poor health to save him. And then? I asked subconsciously. Then the mother didn't agree. Under her daughter's persistent pestering, the daughter developed the intention to kill. During a trip, she pushed her mother off a cliff, but fortunately, hadn't fulfilled la ansari. God had mercy. And she got a chance to be reborn. When she returned to the time when her daughter asked her to beg for the bone marrow again, she chose to leave far away and ignore it. And now, everything has come to an end. Her round-the-world trip is over. And she's standing right in front of you. Are you also? I was so surprised that I couldn't be sure of my guess. Shirley's mother smiled calmly. In my previous life, I really wanted to meet you. I didn't expect that the last thing I heard was your death notice. Time is a wonderful thing. It can always make up for many regrets. It doesn't matter. It's all in the past. I suddenly felt enlightened. Looking at Shirley's mother, I seemed to see what I would be like in the future. Optimistic and open-minded. Yes, hadn't so my obsession. It's all in the past. When the sun rose again, the darkness and filth were gone. And the world was filled with light again. It was a new beginning. The twilight lingered. I had already forgotten how many sunsets I had seen. From the age of 30 to the age of 100, each sunset was different, yet they were all remarkably similar. As the sun set, I was in the courtyard of an ancient town, recalling the bits and pieces of the past. At the age of 30, after the divorce, my neighbor said she wanted to introduce a blind date to me. The man was very handsome, a postdoctoral fellow. He had two houses in both Zhongcheng and Bihai. He was gentle, considerate, and filial to his parents. In the eyes of anyone, he was a perfect and impeccable marriage partner. But I refused. I told my neighbor, I want freedom. Although they didn't understand why one would lose freedom after getting married, they respected me a lot. They never brought up this matter again. When I was 40 years old, Ryan, whom I thought would remain a vegetable for the rest of his life, woke up. He really wanted to see me and asked many people to look for me. But I refused every time. It wasn't that I hated him deeply. It was just that the rules imposed on women since birth made me decide to be selfish once. When I was a child, I was supposed to be cute and obedient. I couldn't snatch my younger brother's toys. And I couldn't run around like other wild children. A girl is cute when she's quiet. When I was at school, I couldn't buy a floral dress that cost 100 yuan. But my younger brother and elder brother could have sneakers that cost several hundred yuan. Because my younger brother was young and my elder brother was older. Later, after I got married, as a woman, I was expected to return to the family and take care of the children. Looking back on our lives, we talk about freedom. Yet we are trapped in a cage by it. We are loved, but we give far more love in return. Therefore, I just want to give myself unique love and care. When I was 50 years old, Zoe got cancer. She was so weak in the hospital bed that she couldn't even lift her fingers. I cried my eyes out, but she seemed to be very happy. She held my hand and smiled widely. Honey, you're so sad that I'm starting to feel reluctant to leave you. Smile. You look so much prettier when you smile. I forced a smile at the corners of my mouth and asked her, aren't you afraid? Zoe smiled and said, I've already experienced all the interesting things in this world. The places I wanted to go. And the scenery I wanted to see. If I live on, I'll just see the same scenery and the same sky. I'm already tired of it, and I'm going to have some fun in the next world. Later, she passed away. I followed her will and took her ashes to the seaside to bury them. She said that water represents freedom. The sea breeze that blows occasionally is very gentle. In the same year, I met a familiar person. Fiona Raj San's mother. She was reborn. However, she wasn't reborn to a time before, but to the present, which is parallel to the original timeline. She became very young. Even younger than me. She was so young that she couldn't remember having given birth to and raised children. She was so young that the concepts of the era had saved her thoughts. And she became a single advocate. When I was 60 years old, Shirley's mother passed away. Half a month before her death, she came to see me. She said, "This life is enough for me. The days without having to worry about things are really awesome." In the year when I was 100 years old, I sat under the setting sun, looking at the gradually setting sun, and I gently closed my eyes. Along with the memories, a gentle wind also blew over my husband's first love threat and to jump off a building. But she claimed to the outside world that I forced her to do it. He took me to the rooftop and tightly gripped my neck. "You like forcing people to jump off buildings so much? Then you can try it yourself." He pushed me down. However, he didn't expect that the inflatable bed prepared in advance had been removed by his first love. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the year when I loved him the most. His first love came to me, losing her temper. "Do you think you're so great, just because you're rich? You used investment to force him to marry you. Have you no shame?" I looked at her coldly. "Oh. Whoever wants to marry him can marry him." But when I turned around, Jonas was standing in front of me with red eyes. "Say that again." On the rooftop of the mental hospital, Jonas threw me to the ground without a trace of pity in his eyes. I was wearing a thin hospital gown, kneeling and sitting on the ground, looking up at him. The weather also cooperated and the wind blew, making my heart feel so cold. Jonas batted the high-end custom-made suit on his body, as if it had been tainted by my bad luck. This was the first suit given to him by his first love Hannah, and he didn't allow me to touch it. Even though I had made many suits for him, he always liked wearing this one. "Yvonne, since the moment you fell in love with me, you've been using all kinds of means. Aren't you tired?" I looked at his disgusted expression. He was completely different from how he was in school days, yet also seemed to be the same person. Means? But I didn't use any means to be nice to him, to marry him, or even towards his first love Hannah. But he stubbornly believed that I had obtained all these by underhanded means. However, I was already too lazy to explain. "You're joking. There's someone else who's good at playing tricks." I smiled self-mockingly. There was a broken mirror on the rooftop from nowhere, and I saw my wretched self in it. It's a bit inappropriate to describe it as wretched. The word tragic is more fitting. Stop being so sarcastic. If it weren't for you forcing Juan to jump off a building, we could at least have treated each other with respect. If you all say that I forced her, then just consider that I did it. I got up from the ground and stood up dejectedly. Among the three of us, my explanations had always been in vain. Hannah jumped off the building to prove to me that Jonas loved her more, instead of loving me, who had already become Mrs. Jonas. When I woke up, I became the murderer who forced Hannah to jump off the building, even though I hadn't done anything. Originally, having fulfilled my sorry, I thought Jonas was so angry because Hannah had broken her leg or become a vegetable. But Hannah was unharmed. She just said a few words and made me lose completely. To punish me, Jonas imprisoned me in the mental hospital. Every day, having fulfilled my obsession, he would take me to the rooftop and angrily push me downstairs. Repeating this over and over again, it seemed to have become a routine in my life. He would push me downstairs, but I wouldn't die. There would be an inflatable bed prepared in advance downstairs, about the height of 2 floors. And, whenever I fell, the patients in the mental hospital would clap their hands and cheer, asking me to do it again. Even funnier was that the power he used to bully me now was the investment I had personally offered to marry him in the first place. After the incident, no matter how much I begged him, it was useless. He wasn't willing to let me go. Today was the last day. After jumping today, I wouldn't have to jump anymore. I spread my arms and closed my eyes resignedly. "President Jonas, hurry up and finish this. It's time for breakfast." "What breakfast?" "Just a few cucumber slices." But I had an old stomach problem. If I didn't eat, my stomach would hurt terribly. Jonas snorted coldly. "Yvonne, you're really extremely bad." These lips once said that he loved me to the extreme. He walked over. He could tightly grip my neck with one hand. but he used to hands. He wanted me to truly feel death, instead of being immune to his punishment. I felt that I was truly dying. My heart was dead. Once we loved passionately. But now it had come to this. Thinking about the past makes me sick. You want to die, right? I'll help you. He showed no mercy. And his eyes were full of coldness. With a light push, he pushed me down. I felt the wind whistling in my ears. And even my tears were thrown into the air. Suddenly, I heard a dull sound. There was no soft inflatable bed as I expected. And no familiar clapping and cheering. Instead, there were screams one after another. Suddenly, hadn't told my feet. It felt like all the bones in my body were broken and hurting. But my heart didn't hurt anymore. I saw Hannah hiding aside, covering her mouth, with a look of horror and excitement in her eyes. Beside her was the inflatable bed that was supposed to catch me. All right. This time, it seemed that I was really going to die. The screams in my ears gradually disappeared, and I saw Jonah's panicked expression upstairs. He seemed very shocked, but wasn't this exactly what he wanted? If I died, he could marry his first love. Hey, Yvonne. Hannah's voice came to my ears. And the surrounding sounds gradually became clear. I took a big breath. Was I reborn? Hannah walked up to me with her arms folded. Jonas and I are childhood sweethearts. If you hadn't butted in. He was supposed to marry me according to the plan. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have some money? I came to my senses and thought about her words. Jonas and I had a business marriage. Before that, Jonas and I were just classmates who didn't know each other well. He was the famous school hunk in school. While I, although rich, didn't like dressing up and buried myself in books all day long. Being a nobody in school. His family needed my family's investment, and I happened to like him. So his parents gave him an order to use all means to win me over. Since then, he seemed like a different person. Being nice to me was like a preset program. And the look in his eyes when he looked at me was one of disgust. He didn't want to stay with me for an extra second. I only found out about these things after I married him in my previous life. But at that time, I was still greedy for the little bit of kindness he pretended to show, using it to numb myself into believing that he loved me. I turned a blind eye to his unreasonable first love and immersed myself in the persona of being his perfect girlfriend. Looking back now, it's really ridiculous. I could have been a talented girl, but I chose to be Jonas Bootlicker instead. As a result, after marriage, he and Hannah did whatever they wanted, even got affectionate in front of me and ignored me completely. And now he even dared to murder me. Hey, you bumpkin. Don't pretend you didn't hear me. It's all your fault for insisting on marrying Jonas. Now he gets annoyed whenever he mentions you. I'm even afraid that he'll get depressed. Hannah's scream brought me back to my senses. I sneered and cleared my throat, since it's such a bother. Then let him marry you. She was stunned for a moment. Then curled her lips. What kind of trick is this? Playing hard to get? I let out an and found it a bit funny. If you can't understand human language, I'll say it again. Jonas isn't some precious thing that everyone has to hold in their hands. If he doesn't want to marry me, I don't want to marry him either. He gets depressed just because of getting married. Why doesn't he just die? You. How can you talk like that? Hannah got anxious. She couldn't figure out how this bumpkin with thick glasses in front of her had changed so much in temperament. If you want to marry him, then marry him. What's the use of showing off in front of me? I bumped into her hard and prepared to leave. Hannah stopped me. Hey. Are you really not going to marry him? Whoever wants to marry him can marry him. I rolled my eyes. But when I turned around, Jonas was standing in front of me, panting. His eyes turned red. Yvonne. Say that again. I looked at him and unconsciously frowned. The feeling he gave me was exactly the same as how I felt after marrying him in my previous life. But at this time, he was just a college student. No wonder you two are childhood sweethearts. You even have the same problem of being hard of hearing. I turned around and said to Hannah behind me, Hey. Repeat it for him. Hannah skillfully put on an aggrieved expression, walked over and hugged Jonas' arm, lowered her eyes, and immediately looked pitiful. Jonas. Yvonne said she told you to go die. I'm doing this for your own good. I wanted to persuade her not to force you with investment. Did you really say that? Jonas asked me in a trembling voice. Why are you asking me? Ask her. Everything she said is right. I raised my chin, signaling him to ask Hannah, and then quickened my pace to leave. I was afraid that if I stayed any longer, I would throw up. I rushed back to the dormitory and looked at myself in the mirror. Seeing the thick glasses and the extremely ugly outfit, I felt relieved. I really was reborn back to college. Jonas, Hannah, and I were classmates in high school. At that time, I was very fat and had to wear the largest size of school uniforms. I was a nobody. So when it came to high school, they didn't even remember that I was their classmate. Once when we were distributing summer school uniforms, the classmates excitedly went to get them. But one person couldn't stop laughing. They took a closer look and found that the classmate was holding a dress of the largest size. Damn it. Even Thanos wouldn't need to wear such a big dress. Whose clothes are these? Is there such a person in our school? There was continuous laughter for a while. I, who was originally going to get my school uniform, quickly hid myself. Let's just hang it here and see which class has a Thanos to come and get it. I watched that person hang my school uniform on the railing of the playground. At that moment when I was sweating profusely, I felt like the sky was falling. But a pair of hands reached out and took down my school uniform. Yes, it was Jonas. I looked over. Jonas in high school had a trendy haircut with a lollipop slanting in his mouth. Hey, is it fun for you guys? I've taken it down now. What do you want to do to me? He was very famous, and everyone was afraid of him. Hearing his words, they all ran away in a hurry. Only I was still huddled in the corner. You're close. I brought them for you. Suddenly, his voice rang out. When I raised my head, only my school uniform dress was hanging outside, and his back as he left after helping me out. It was at that time that I fell in love with him uncontrollably. Of course, I was so fat and had low self-esteem that it was just a secret crush. I couldn't compare with Hannah, who walked beside him at all. Hannah had nice hair in high school and wore the school uniform in different styles every day. She was the only one who could be compared with Jonas. I tried hard to lose weight and became what I am now, but I also got a serious stomach problem. But the inferiority complex was deeply engraved in my bones. Studying in the fashion department. Yet I was more rustic than anyone else. When I thought that I would have a secret crush on Jonas for my whole life, Jonas' family's company needed my family's investment. On the night when I got the news, I felt that my secret crush was about to come to light. I told my father that I liked Jonas. My father, who was a powerful figure in the business world and had always felt indebted to his self-abased daughter, used his power for personal reasons for the first time. He invited Jonas' father to dinner. At the dinner table, when I saw Jonas for the first time, there was already disgust in his eyes. Jonas' father also wanted to use me as a connection to win over my father to get the investment. We got married after graduation, and I became the envy of everyone. Only I knew that I loved him humbly. But in the end, it couldn't even compare to a single word of accusation from Hannah. My thoughts were pulled back. I took off my glasses and threw all the ugly clothes out. Looking at myself in the mirror, with a pair of beautiful eyes revealed, my mood improved a lot. Since God gave me a chance to start over, I mustn't repeat the same mistakes. When my roommate Gina came back, she exclaimed, "Yvonne, what's that big package outside? It's blocking the way." "Sorry. They're the clothes I don't want. I'll throw them away in a while." I looked up and smiled apologetically, which made her exclaim again, Are you still Yvonne?" She held me and looked me up and down. "Where's your fringe? Where are your glasses? Didn't you say that you couldn't change your image as a top student no matter what?" I pulled down her hands and looked at her firmly. "Nonsense. Nothing is impossible in the world." Gina was a very fashionable girl. She spent all her time outside the dormitory socializing every day, and was known as an expert on clothing in the department. "Don't tell me you've fallen in love with Jonas and changed for love." I rolled my eyes impatiently. "For Jonas? What a joke. I'll never get along with him in this life." Seeing that my expression didn't seem fake, Gina said worriedly, But almost everyone knows that you like Jonas. You even said that you would get married right after graduation. In fact, in my previous life, I strictly followed this plan and got married to him right after graduation. After all, his family's company couldn't afford to delay. But unexpectedly, he blamed me for his inability to marry Hannah and for his father forcing him to marry me. After getting married and once the investment funds arrived, he stopped pretending. But didn't I have resentment? If he didn't like me, he could have just told me directly. I was never the kind of person who would pester others. But he had never said that he didn't want to marry me. Stop it. Just think that I was out of my mind. I think he's not even half as good as that guy in the physics department. Actually, I didn't know who that person in the physics department was. I just said it casually with a vague impression, but I didn't expect Gina to take it seriously. The next day, there was a rumor that Yvonne, the top student in the fashion department, liked Liam, the most handsome guy in the physics department. Rumors that I was ambitious and overestimated myself, that I first chased after Jonas in the sports department and then fell in love with Liam in the physics department. Spread like wildfire and swept across the whole school. In the cafeteria, Gina invited me to dinner to make amends. Yvonne, I thought she was a friend, so I told her about your thing. I didn't expect her to post it on the campus wall. Forget it. You didn't do it on purpose. I don't think that you or Liam will take it seriously. I casually waved my chopsticks. As soon as I finished speaking, a bottle of milk was placed in front of me. I looked up and it was Jonas. Instantly, having felt me, I lost my appetite. I had a serious stomach problem because of dieting, and he often gave me milk to drink, fearing that I would be hungry and have a stomachache. But in my previous life, didn't I still starve to death? What are you doing here? Did your father withdraw the investment? I should have thought of it earlier. Except for this matter. There was nothing else that could make him react like this. His daughter has been wronged. Why wouldn't he withdraw the investment? Is he waiting for the new year? I picked up my plate and prepared to leave. Jonas grabbed my hand. I apologize to you. It was my fault for treating you like that before. He lowered his head and his voice trembled again. I almost thought that he had also been reborn. I got it. Is that okay now? He looked up in disbelief. You've forgiven me? I was the one who shamelessly chased after you. There's no question of forgiveness. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. If you and your first love still show up in front of me, don't blame me for being rude. Those were real things that had happened. How could I forget them? But he still held my arm tightly and wouldn't let go. Yvonne, you know that's not what I want. I was a bit distracted. After getting married, he often called me like this. Suddenly, another pair of hands reached out, placed on Jonas's arm, and pulled him away forcefully. Didn't you hear her? She said let go. Liam? I couldn't help but say in surprise. At this moment, I remembered that he was my neighbor in my previous life and lived next door to the wedding house of Jonas and me. Jonas didn't often go home. And whenever there was something at home, he would come to help me. A few times when Jonas found out, he even got angry with me for no reason because of this. But if it weren't for him, I would have been bruised all over from bumping into things in the dark when the power went out. I would have been drenched like a drowned rat because of the broken faucet and would have broken down and cried when Jonas didn't answer my calls. It was also him who called me frantically during the month when I was locked up in the mental hospital. He turned his head slightly. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Don't be afraid. I'm here. He would say this sentence when he came to help me repair the electricity and the faucet. Instantly, my eyes became moist. In my previous life, he had never mentioned that we were classmates in college. Why are you here? I asked softly. Before Liam could answer, Jonas looked at me dissatisfied lie over him. Yvonne, come here to me. I hid behind Liam. You're crazy. Yvonne, I'm your fiancé. I don't like you anymore. And I won't marry you. You're now Hannah's fiancé. Seeing that I wouldn't come out, he reached out to grab me but was blocked by Liam. Is it manly to lay hands on a girl? Mind your own business. Don't blame me for being rude. Just try it. Liam remained unmoved, standing in front of me like a wall. There were already a lot of onlookers around. I hated being the focus of the crowd the most. So I had to end this farce. Jonas. About your family's investment. You can tell your father to talk to my father. I'll also tell my father that I don't like you anymore, and there's no need to tie you up with the investment anymore. So are you satisfied now? Can you leave? I took Liam's hand and turned around to leave. Yvonne. He was still calling me. But it was useless. I wouldn't look back. So you're Liam from the physics department? I exclaimed in surprise. No wonder I had an impression of Liam from the physics department. He had once said that he was in the physics department. But he didn't mention that he was in the same school as me. So you said you liked me. Stop it. I just said it casually. Don't take it seriously. The disappointment in his eyes flashed by. When he lowered his eyes, his eyelashes covered his eyes. Looking wet. Like a little deer. Well, to thank you, I'll treat you to dinner? Only then did he look up. Okay. After having dinner, I went back to the dormitory and remembered what he said during the meal. I asked him why he would help someone he had never met before, and he said that he always felt a sense of familiarity when looking at me. There was a faint voice in his heart telling him that he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. He smiled and half-jokingly said that maybe we had known each other a long time ago. I was really confused. Only I knew that we had really known each other a long time ago. During the spring festival holiday, I went home. Jonas also went home and got on the same bus as me. I mustn't let Gina off when I got back. I had only told her my train information. Yvonne. I turned my head away, not wanting to talk to him. My seat is inside. You. Are you going home? If you have nothing to say, just shut up. We're not in a relationship where we have to talk. Did I do something to offend you? Your attitude has been very different recently. He was cautious. Afraid of offending me. I thought it was a bit strange. He shouldn't be like this. He should have been wearing sunglasses and sitting next to me, telling me not to bother him. Are you really unable to understand human language? I said I don't like you anymore. I hate you. I started packing my things, preparing to leave and find another seat. He grabbed me. No. This isn't right. You should like me very much. We'll get married right after graduation. And then everything will go smoothly in our careers and we'll live in harmony. Sure enough. He was still concerned about his family's financing. I shook him off. On the contrary. We won't get married. And none of the things that followed will happen. The financing couldn't succeed. If it did, his career would be booming in the future. And it would be as easy for him to kill someone as to crush an ant. I changed seats with a girl because I noticed that she had been looking at Jonas since he got on the bus. She would definitely agree to change seats. The girl took out her mobile phone and wanted to add Jonas on WeChat. Jonas looked at me through the reflection of the window. I turned my head away and didn't look at him anymore. There was no ripple in my heart. In my previous life, I had more than just Hannah as my rival in love. There were quite a number of his company's secretaries, employees, and those who had a crush on him. He didn't wear a wedding ring. But he didn't allow me to take mine off. When I went to his company to look for him, I would be stopped by the receptionist who would say that I couldn't enter without an appointment. But Hannah could walk in surrounded by everyone right in front of me. I asked curiously why. And the receptionist said to me distaphonially, "She's our future boss's wife. Should we let you, an old hag, in instead of her?" Only then did I know that he had set up a single persona on moments. But Jonas would occasionally be nice to me. For example, after I told him about the receptionist, he fired her the next day. That's why Hannah would often play some tricks to prove that she was more important than me. I let her do it because I knew that I couldn't compare to Hannah. I couldn't compare to her even till I died, so I would never like him again. When the bus arrived at the station, I was the first to pull my suitcase and get out. Dad was leaning on the car waiting for me at the station. "Girl, where's the kid from the Jonas family? I told your Jonas's dad that I'd pick you two up and go back together." Although I had mentioned this to my dad, he had always thought it was just a petty quarrel. I got into the car. "Dad, you have two choices. 1, without a low sorry. Get in the car and we'll go home. 2, I'll drive home by myself." What about Dad? Aren't you waiting for Jonas? You can go with him. Dad exclaimed and decisively got into the car. The moment Jonas appeared, the car sped away. Are you serious about breaking up with Jonas? Father asked curiously. He raised me all by himself. Which was really not easy. We had always been very understanding towards each other. We had never said harsh words to each other. But once I did, he would know that I was serious. I nodded and said, I really don't like him anymore. We're not suitable for each other. Dad. If possible. I hope we won't invest in them. Find a proper reason to withdraw the investment. I'm saying these not out of personal grudges or being petty. I'm doing it for our own good. Dad became solemn and finally nodded. Okay. I'll listen to you. Actually, his family's company really doesn't meet our investment standards. But for you, Dad took risks to fulfill your happiness. Now that you've come to your senses, Dad is happy for you. I looked at the graying temples of Dad and suddenly felt like crying. It turned out that it was all because of me. At home, I didn't have many friends. But in order to let me go out and walk around, Dad assigned me the task of buying New Year's beds and didn't let me give it to the aunt at home. I resigned myself to going out to buy New Year's beds. But unfortunately, I ran into the last person I wanted to see. Yvonne. What a coincidence. Hannah was holding Jonas' arm. With him around, Hannah wouldn't go crazy yet. I didn't check the almanac before going out. It's really an unlucky coincidence. I pushed the cart and continued to choose goods. Jonas quietly pulled his hand out of Hannah's arm and reached out to push the cart for me. I stood still and didn't want to follow him. Instead, I turned around and took a new cart. What are you doing? Jonas frowned. I don't want the cart that you've touched. I shrugged. Suddenly, something hit my back. I touched it and found it was eggs from the supermarket. Yvonne. How can you talk like that? Are you showing off your wealth? I know my family isn't as rich as yours. But if my family had money, I would definitely invest in Jonas' family company without hesitation. I wouldn't be like you, using it as blackmail. I turned around. Hannah's face was flushed red, as if I had humiliated her. I stopped and said, Jonas, didn't I tell you that if you and your little first love showed up in front of me again, I wouldn't be polite? I gave him a disdainful look, picked up an egg from the side, walked over, and pressed it onto her head. It seems that you're also short of money. Do you think investment is a child's play? Do you think you can invest just by talking? Stupid. I snorted coldly and turned around to leave. The stunned Hannah finally came to her senses. Yvonne. You bitch. I'm going to call the police. She pulled Jonas' sleeve. Jonas. Look at her. She's bullying me. I had to stop again. You say I'm bullying you, right? And you want to call the police, right? I pointed at the surveillance camera. I don't know who started it first, but I'll find the best lawyer to defend myself. You'd better ask your childhood sweetheart to find one for you too. Because I won't stop until I win. Seeing that I was about to dial the police number, Hannah got a bit worried and quickly begged Jonas. Jonas came up and snatched my mobile phone. It's our fault. Hannah. Apologize. Jonas looked at me with moist eyes. What are you talking about? I won't apologize. Apologize? In the past when she hurt me, Jonas always covered up for her. He would ask me to be more magnanimous. Even when he brought Hannah home, ate the food I cooked, and kissed her in front of me, Jonas only said, Juan was drunk. Don't be so petty. I snorted coldly, crazy. Suddenly, he dragged the leading Hannah to me. Hannah. Apologize. Hannah struggled desperately and started crying. What's wrong with you? I won't apologize. She shook off Jonas and ran out crying. The staff of the supermarket had already come over. I didn't have the mood to shop anymore and quickly left. Yvonne. You should believe me now. I really will change and love you well. Don't push me away again. It's not the first time you've said such things. When you took the wedding vows and tried to coax me, you would say these things. But in the end, you still brought her home, kissed her in front of me, and finally asked me to be magnanimous. I'd be a fool to believe you. I muttered to myself. After all, this was something he hadn't done yet. And there was no evidence. You. How do you know about me and Hannah? He suddenly frowned with deep confusion between his brows. You've also been reborn? Reborn. Have you come back too? Nothing had shocked me so much since I came back. I just thought that the way he looked at me was a bit strange. So he was also reborn. Since the current him was the him from the previous life. Then I had nothing more to say to him. I turned around and left. Yvonne. Yvonne. Listen to me. Let me explain. I really didn't mean to kill you. It's all Hannah's fault. I'll make her pay the price. He chased after me but I didn't stop. Just looking at him made me feel sick. I really know I'm wrong. After you left, I regretted it very much. I couldn't adapt to life without you at all. I repented every day. Finally, God gave me a chance to let us start over. Start over? How dare you say that? I stopped abruptly. Coincidentally, it started to rain. He hurriedly put his hands together to shelter me from the rain above my head, but I pushed him to the ground. People around were running to take shelter from the rain. And no one cared about us now. That was death. How can you say it so lightly? The Yvonne who loved you is dead. Now, I only have hatred for you. I was hysterical and almost lost my mind. He knelt on the ground, covering his face and crying. I couldn't tell whether the drops on his face were tears or rain. Even so, I didn't believe him. I reached out and pinched his chin. Looking at the man I once loved deeply, you and Hannah had better repent for the rest of your lives. Don't forget that you two have my life on your hands. I roared out and threw him away hard. He fell into the rain. And the heavy rain washed away his sins. This spring festival wasn't a pleasant one. After getting caught in the rain that day, I had a high fever until the spring festival day. Liam sent me a red envelope right on time and wished me a happy new year. Seeing that I was bored, he accompanied me to play rock paper scissors. And finally, as a result of a big adventure, he came to pick me up and take me back to school. I blocked all of Jonah's contact information, so I never heard from them again. When school started, Liam came to pick me up, helped me carry my luggage to the car. And then my father suddenly appeared behind me. No wonder you don't revolve around the Jonas family kid anymore. It turns out that you've found someone better. Seeing that Liam was about to come over, I quickly covered Dad's mouth. Dad. Kid. Take good care of our Yvonne. Liam smiled and said, Okay, Uncle. I'll definitely take good care of her. I quickly got into the car and urged him to drive. Dad just misunderstood. Why didn't you explain? Because there's no need to explain. I really want to take care of you. He stared at the road seriously, and said it casually. But his hands were tightly gripping the steering wheel. In the previous life, we had no relationship at all. But he took care of me quite meticulously. He must be even nicer to me in this life. I laughed a few times, closed my eyes and pretended to sleep all the way. And actually fell asleep when the car arrived downstairs at the dormitory. He stopped and didn't wake me up until my mobile phone rang and I woke up with a start. You didn't wake me up, seeing that you were sleeping soundly. He smiled with his eyes curved. Thank you for today. I'll treat you to dinner another day. I picked up my things and was about to leave. He called me softly, Yvonne. Can you try to like me? Or rather, can I pursue you? I was stunned, and my palms sweated slightly. On impulse, I wanted to agree just like that. But the fear of falling in love was deep in my heart. I'm currently. Don't rush to refuse. I'll accompany you. As long as you don't dislike it. I'll be with you until you get out of the difficult situation. His deer-like eyes stared at me like that, making me think that he knew something. As if possessed by something. I nodded. In the dormitory, Gina had already arrived. When she saw me come in, she excitedly hugged me. Yvonne. Why didn't you answer the phone? Do you know that Hannah has suspended her studies? I exclaimed. Why? You really asked the right person about this. She pulled a stool and sat down. Isn't her family running a small business? Then I heard that Jonah's family drove her family's store out of business. Hannah went bankrupt overnight and moved away. Move away? How could she be willing to let it go? She had no choice. Hannah went to argue with Jonas. Stabbed Jonas with a knife. Jonas didn't cover up for her this time and directly sent her to prison. Her family couldn't stay there anymore. So they moved away. Gina hissed. Why did Jonas suddenly turn against his little first love? I shook my head. They are cold-blooded people themselves. It's not surprising that they would turn against anyone. Gina nodded as if she suddenly understood. However, Jonas was seriously injured and is still in the hospital now. Aren't you going to visit him? My expression changed drastically. Don't mention him to me. Gina raised her hands. I'm begging for mercy. I'll be good. Actually, I had received strange text messages. I knew they were sent by Jonas. He said that he had already dealt with Hannah. Ensured that she wouldn't appear in front of me in this life and wouldn't have an easy life. He also said that he was injured. Seriously injured. Almost losing half of his life. And he wanted to see me. I blocked his number right away and didn't pay attention to it. In senior year, when graduation was approaching, my relationship with Liam was getting better and better. And our hearts were getting closer. I had promised him that if I didn't dislike him on graduation day, I would be with him. So, all in all, he had been chasing me for 3 years. On the graduation day, I saw Jonas. I hadn't seen him for almost 2 years. He was holding a bouquet of flowers and standing not far away. But I didn't want to go over there. So I pretended not to see him. He just stood in the sun. Motionless. Yvonne. He's so pitiful. Aren't you really going to see him? I waved my hand. I have to ask my boyfriend if he agrees. Gina exclaimed. You're together. Good for you. We agreed to stay single together. But you've got a boyfriend. So I took Liam and stood in front of Jonas together. You too. We're together. So no matter what happens, don't let me see you again. Unless you're dying. If that's the case, contact me. And I'll definitely bring gifts to visit you. I held Liam's hand. I'm dying now. Can you talk to me? He lifted his clothes. And there was a horrible scar on his waist. You should settle accounts with Hannah. Why are you looking for me? It's so ugly. Cover it up quickly. I turned my head away. A hurt look flashed in his eyes. I understand. I'm sorry. Can you accept these flowers? I chose them for a long time. They're the ones you like. He fumbled to pull down his clothes and then handed the flowers over. I took them and threw them into the trash can beside me. I've accepted them. Is that okay now? He lowered his head. Somewhat like how I used to be. Extremely self-abased. Nothing. It's okay now. Yvonne. I hope you can be happy in this life. I waved Liam's hand. Definitely. Liam didn't say a word all the way. As if he knew the grudges between us. When we walked a certain distance away, he finally spoke. He looks really sad. Like, he doesn't want to live anymore. I interrupted. He seems like he doesn't want to live anymore. But what can I do? I can't comfort him or enlighten him. Because he owes me a life. Liam gently stroked my cheek with his hand. And only then did I realize that I was crying. But I wasn't crying because of Jonas. It was just that over the years, the dust-covered memories had resurfaced in my mind again. It doesn't matter. As long as you're happy. I don't care about others. I looked up and saw his deer-like eyes. Full of tenderness. 5 years after graduation, I became a sought-after fashion designer. After all, I was reborn. And I knew the advanced fashion trends. Almost the entire fashion circle was shaken by me. And I was 27 years old. In my previous life, something bad happened to me when I was 27. I didn't want to get married because I was afraid that I would disappear in that year. But it didn't happen. I was living a good life. So when I was 28 years old, I married Liam, who had been with me all along. Over the years, he had done what he said. He took good care of me. My stomach problem gradually got better. And I was no longer afraid of marriage. I still remember when we took the wedding vows. Liam cried like a child. He said, "You belong to yourself. And I belong to you. So, Yvonne, don't leave me." I smiled. A genuine smile. And I said, "Okay." Liam's side story. I heard Devon's name again from my roommate. He said, "Ju, come and look. That Yvonne is going to chase you." I put down the book in my hand and asked, "Who are you talking about?" Yvonne. The one who's like a bootlicker of Jonas. Who's very popular in our school. What's going on? Couldn't get him. So she's changing her target? I smiled. My roommate thought I was laughing at Yvonne's overreaching. But actually I was secretly happy. My secret love was finally going to come to light. In high school, I met a girl online who was as fat as I was. At that time, I was being bullied and was thinking about committing suicide. She empathized with me, saying that she was in the same situation and made a plan to lose weight with me. So I survived and lost weight. But after that, I couldn't get in touch with her anymore. I only remembered her nice name. Yvonne. So when I met that Jonas in the cafeteria for the first time, I, who had never meddled in such things before, stepped forward to defend this girl named Yvonne. At that time, it was just because of her name. We had dinner together. During the meal, she had the same taste as I did. She said that she used to be very fat and joked about herself with a smile. Surprised. Huh? After I was even more convinced that she was the person I was looking for. She asked me why I helped her. I didn't explain the reason why we knew each other. I just said, maybe we knew each other before. During the spring festival, I deleted and added words in the chat box with her again and again before I finally summoned up the courage to send her my blessings. And I also got the chance to pick her up. Everything that followed developed very smoothly. It just seemed that there was a deep rift between her and Jonas. That was almost like a nightmare for Yvonne. It could make such a kind-hearted person say something like asking him to die. But I knew that she was still the one who would persuade me not to die but to change myself and amaze the whole world. Later, it seemed that Jonas committed suicide. I didn't know what the result was. I hadn't heard anything about him since then. But Yvonne was unhappy all day long. She said coldly on the phone, "Even if you die, I won't go to see you. I learned to break my promise from you." But after hanging up the phone, she burst into tears. All I could do was to stay with her. The more I stayed with her, the more I loved her. It seemed like it was predestined and by fate. Fortunately, we got married. On our wedding day, Yvonne was very happy. She drank a lot. She hugged me and whispered in my ear, "Actually, you were right. We knew each other a long time ago." Well, I believe her. The bond between us can't be explained clearly without referring to our past lives. The end.